everyone, and welcome back to CISM. Today we're going to be speaking to Charles Mossop. Thanks so much for joining us, Charles. He is the former member of the CNIB Board of Directors, who also served as Executive Director in Thompson Rivers University for International Education for 30 years. Charles Mossop is well known for his achievements for international student recruitments in Canada since 1970. We are so delighted to interview Charles Mossop for Canadian International Student Magazine. Hello, Charles. We are pleased to meet you today. Thank you so much for taking the time to share your journey in international education with us. As we have learned, you started your journey at Cariboo College, today known as Thompson Rivers University, as a faculty member in the year 1970. Within 5 years of time, you had initiated an international travel study program at Cariboo College and established a permanent department of international education. Could you share your valuable journey with us as an executive director at Cariboo College during those times?
Sure. Thanks for this opportunity. It's always a pleasure to work again with my old friend and colleague, Elvis, and to talk about the work that we've done. I joined Thompson Rivers University when it was just, in fact, a 2-year community college and sort of technical institution in Kamloops. It was called Cariboo College in those days. The college opened in 1970. And in 1975, we began a program for travel study. In other words, courses were offered off campus, out of country. So I taught Chinese history courses to groups of students that I took to China, Southeast Asian history to students I took to Southeast Asia. And that program lasted from 1975 until 1980. We had participants from many parts of Western Canada. By that time, I was of the opinion that Cariboo College, small as it was, could still be a college to the world. In 1983, I was offered the opportunity to open a full-time international department. But it was not at that time geared towards recruiting students, for the very simple reason that the provincial government at that time did not allow community colleges, 2-year colleges, to enroll international students. The universities could, but the colleges could not. The program consisted of identifying and then implementing and managing development projects in various parts of the world. That's what we started to do. Our first projects were in Indonesia. We continued with those right the way through until I retired in the year 2000. So we were really active. In 1984, there were rumors that the provincial government was going to allow 2-year colleges to enroll international students. So at Cariboo, we didn't wait. We just started anyway. So I headed out to Hong Kong with the vice president because all the money that we could afford to invest at that time meant that we had to choose one market to start with. We were brand new to this, but I did have some background because I was very familiar with the British Council and its work overseas recruiting students. We headed out to Hong Kong to assess that market from our point of view, and also to find a local representative willing to take on the work on our behalf after we left. And of course, at that time, I met Elvis Chai, and we've been colleagues and friends ever since then. So we went along to see them, and we told them what we wanted, and they said, yes, okay, that's a good idea. We started to fish around for names of people that we could approach to be our representatives. And of course, they wouldn't do that. They wouldn't give us any names. They gave us a whole list of international agents, as they were called in those days. And of course, there was no indication of how long they'd been in the business, who they were, what they were doing. We didn't quite know what to do. They did it in order of first names, alphabetically. Elvis Chai was early on the list, only because his name starts with A. Very useful. So I asked somebody there, I said, if we approached Elvis Chai, would that be a good idea? And he said, well, Elvis Chai is on the list. You could go and see Elvis, but don't tell anybody that I gave you that information. Don't tell anybody my name ever, because we're not supposed to do this. And I have not told anybody his name, and I will not. But that is how we first met Elvis. And our student recruitment, beginning with Hong Kong, subsequently spread out all over the world with agents and representatives everywhere. But Elvis was the first.
Thanks so much for joining us at CISM as we got to speak to Charles Mossop. Tune in next week to hear the rest of our conversation with him.